The Iran-US wrestling team, they were supposed to have a friendly competition in Texas on February 12th, but unfortunately this event is not happening. I've invited Mr. Rich Bander to see what happened and why the Iranian team, they're not making it to this event. Rich Bander is Executive Director of U.S. Wrestling, and thank you so much, Mr. Bander, for giving us the time for this interview and see what's going on and what happened this time and why the Iranian wrestling team didn't make it here to United States.
Well, certainly friendly wrestling competitions are incredibly important to the development of not only wrestlers, but also developing the relationships between the federations to ensure that these platforms and these opportunities are maximized. And in wrestling, it's very important to have international competition. And this was an event that was established to not only showcase the top collegiate wrestling in America, but also top international wrestling around the world. Oklahoma State and Iowa are two of the most storied collegiate programs in America, and they are scheduled to wrestle on the 12th of February. And we thought that it would be a great opportunity for us to display wrestling's ability to transcend politics and really host a friendly competition with the Islamic Republic of Iran in conjunction with this match. So that was the thought process from the start, was give us an opportunity to elevate and display and promote wrestling, give wrestlers important opportunities to compete against one another in environments that they don't get the chance very often. So we've done this, I believe this would have been the 17th time that we have invited the Islamic Republic of Iran to come to the U.S. and participate. And for these things to happen, it takes a great deal of legwork and cooperation between the two wrestling federations. We don't have normalized relations from the government perspective, so obviously we have to be very serious about our cooperation and follow the protocols to ensure that we indeed get the visas that we need to provide the athletes with that opportunity for friendly competition. Unfortunately, originally our invitation was for 18 members to come and participate in the 10 traditional weight classes that are contested at the World Championships 3 of the 4 years out of the Olympic quadrennium. And 18 was the number. Through additional conversations, they requested, the Wrestling Federation requested 35 spots. We worked very hard with the State Department to ensure that they were met and given the opportunity to secure the visas. And unfortunately, not all 35 were granted. And, we are not given the reason for specific denials, but it's a complicated process, and we're really, really happy that we're able to secure 29. But unfortunately, that wasn't enough for the Wrestling Federation of the Islamic Republic of Iran, and they decided not to come.
So if you don't mind, let me get all these numbers right. I know that U.S. hosted the Iranian Wrestling Federation 16 times before during the last year since 1995. And what you said was that originally it was supposed to be 18 people to request for visa. But then you said 35 people requested for visa, went to Dubai for visa. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's accurate. And just to clarify, I mean, the U.S. Wrestling Federation has no role in the process, right? We are only a facilitator to ensure that our friends in Iran understand the rules and the processes to apply for the visas. Obviously, they have to go out of Iran to an embassy outside of Iran to do this. So, I mean, we are just a liaison to ensure that they understand what the rules are, they understand what the processes are, and the actual process to determine the visas. I mean, we have no role in that.
And you said that 26 visa was issued?
Yeah, but I believe the final number was 29. And again,
The final number was, okay.
the final numbers were 29, and we know that only because the president of the Wrestling Federation made a public statement that I think 6 were denied visas to participate. And just for the record, we aren't even notified of that. That's a private matter between those that are applying for the visa and the embassy in Dubai that actually is conducting the interviews and managing the process.
So let me ask you about Mr. Dabir. Did you know that at one time he was U.S. resident and for a reason that we don't know, he doesn't have his green card, and that could cause problem when he applies for visa?
Yeah, I did not know that what his status was in terms of documentation to enter the United States. I do know that he's been here on, I believe, 4 different tours as an athlete to compete, but I can't comment on what his status is in terms of a green card or I believe he did apply for a visa to come on this trip.
So I want to ask you, we always try, everybody, they're trying to keep sport and politics separate from each other. And this sentence that Dabir used, Debt to America, do you think that played any role, and if so, how much, for him not being granted visa and the problems that they had for permission coming to America?
Well, I can't confirm or deny that had any role in the decision to grant or not grant his visa. In fact, I can't even confirm or deny he applied for a visa. I can't confirm or deny if he was denied, because those decisions are made by our embassy, and results are communicated directly to the applicant. It would be reasonable to believe that if you were in a process trying to secure a visa to enter a country, that you probably wouldn't use political rhetoric ever publicly to influence that. But with that said, I have no way to confirm or deny that had any role at all. I mean, he's in the past been successful 4 times of coming to our country, and I know competing, therefore having documentation or a visa or a green card to do that. So it's a different approach than our experience in the past with leaders within the Wrestling Federation. I think it's been a common theme amongst federations around the world that wrestling and politics don't mix. And we've had success as a sport that is relevant in every corner of the globe, kind of maintaining that belief that it's not about politics, it's about sport. And whether that had anything to do with this process, I can't confirm it.
Well, I read your email to Mr. Dabir. Toward the end, you wrote something, and I'm going to quote, "Wrestling will be damaged worldwide if you decide not to come for this competition." Now my question is why? Why worldwide? And why will it be, how will this damage the Iran-US wrestling team, and why worldwide?
Well, I think we're proud as a sport of the ability of us to put any differences we may have aside and other matters to give athletes the opportunity to get together and participate and celebrate the greatest sport man has ever known, that's wrestling. And so a little bit, I guess it's fair to say we're a little bit confused by the response and from Mr. Dabir, but certainly we look forward to participating with this team in the future. But I think it hurts the reputation of our sport as a unifier. I mean, in 2013, if you remember, there was a suggestion that wrestling be taken off the Olympic program by the International Olympic Committee. And it was because of relationships around the world and the ability of this sport to come together for the common good of the sport. Iran came to participated against Team USA in Grand Central Station in 2013 in one of the most publicized events in our history. And, I think whenever we lose those opportunities for reasons outside of, injury or something like that, it hurts the sport. And, I guess we're confused a little bit by the response because, I think it's safe to say that our sport is unified around the idea that, politics doesn't have a role in our sport. So, that's where I'm a little bit confused by the response. And, obviously, we're going to compete on Saturday night against another team of athletes from 5 or 6 different countries around the world that are going to be in Arlington and compete against Team USA. For us, it wasn't ever about winning or losing necessarily a match. It was about the display of our sport and the opportunity for wrestlers to improve and show that our sport is a common unifier, and an opportunity to better mankind through sport.
The next competition is going to be in the United States too, correct?
Yeah, we have a World Cup scheduled for December of next year, and the top 6 teams in the world qualify for that event. And based on recent results, we hope Iran qualifies, and we will again do everything in our power to provide the support and to help them secure the proper documentation and visas to participate. I mean, we've been blessed through the years. Great leaders within the Wrestling Federation, like Mr. Talagani, the Hadam brothers. We're great partners with USA Wrestling in the effort to use wrestling as a platform to make things better around the world. So, obviously disappointed with the new leadership's decision not to come. And, if it were up to me, we would love to have every visa granted always, but it's not our decision. And it's disappointing. I think it does set our sport back, but it's on to the next thing for us, and we will do everything in our power in December and before that, hopefully, to be a liaison to ensure that the visas are granted. Obviously, the Olympic Games coming up in 2028 in LA. We do recognize that at times it's complicated to secure the proper documentation to enter this country, and wrestling has proven in the past it's found a way to be able to work through those requirements and high standards to ensure that wrestlers can come to the United States and participate in sport. The World Cup is a little bit more of a competitive competition. Obviously, every team is trying to win. That was not the case, and I heard some conversations about the U.S. Wrestling Federation playing some kind of a game to not allow certain wrestlers in that we thought might beat our wrestlers, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Right? This was a friendship match, an opportunity for us to use wrestling as a platform to celebrate sport and to raise the relevancy of wrestling within the Olympic movement. And it was an opportunity missed, and one that we'll overcome and work hard to ensure opportunities in the future.
Is it safe to say that maybe ask them to go into the embassy, apply for the visa earlier, and also have all the proper papers, so for next time we're not going to have this kind of problem?
Well, certainly. I mean, there's a process, right? There's a process to secure the documentation, not just for Iran, right? Other countries have the same requirements, and it takes time, and it's a process, and it takes collaboration and cooperation. And when there's an interview scheduled for 9 o'clock, doesn't mean show up at 8 o'clock. It means show up at 9 o'clock. When you're there for an interview, it means you bring your passport and bring the documentations that are required to secure the visa. And when that doesn't happen, it makes the process more difficult and complicated. But I'll assure you, there was never one time in this process that sport or competitive results had anything to do with it. It was a decision made by those in charge of providing visas to grant or not grant, and nothing to do with wrestling.
I like to end the interview with your experience when you were in Iran, in Kermanshah. What was your feeling? Can you tell us your experience about it?
Yeah, and so I've had the pleasure of serving at USA Wrestling for now almost 34 years, and I think the trip in 2017 was the fourth time that I personally traveled to Iran for a wrestling competition, and it remains to this day one of the most pleasurable experiences of my life. Being a wrestler and someone involved in wrestling, to see the appreciation that the country has for our sport and the appreciation that the country has for good wrestling. And we were treated exceptionally well in Kermanshah. Actually, it's been the case every time we've been there. And I think if you talk to the wrestlers that come to the United States, it's been the same experience for them. And, you know, it's great. And we were treated very well. And our athletes were celebrated. Great competition, great opportunity for us to kind of raise the level of relations. There may be a lot of differences between our governments, but I think on the wrestling mat we have a lot of similarities. So it's really great when we can use wrestling, can kind of, I guess, transcend that reality and you know, provide athletes with the opportunity to participate. Because in this case, the losers are the wrestlers, right? They're the ones that are denied the opportunity to use the sport to hone their skills and improve, and that's been denied. And you know, for reasons that has nothing to do with them. So that's troubling and you know, difficult for us to really understand. But said earlier, we're moving on, and we'll look forward to seeing the Iranian team at the World Championships in Belgrade, and hopefully at the World Cup in Iowa City and Corval, Iowa in December.
Well, thank you. I actually, as my last question, I was going to point that out, that the wrestlers themselves, because I know how it is, how disciplined they need to be to get ready for a competition as far as physically, mentally, and their food and all that. And then this happens. So I'm sure that this is very disappointing for them. So, and like you said.
And you know, and I want to be clear, it was a friendly competition, but one that the wrestlers take very seriously. And I mean, make no mistake, I mean, every single matchup, they're trying to win and we're trying to win. And it's important to the wrestlers to be at their best. And, you know, months of preparation went in on both sides to preparing for this match. And, you know, fortunately for Team USA, we're gonna have matches in Arlington on Saturday night. And, you know, it's disappointing that, you know, we're not able to compete against one of the top nations in the world. I mean, without question, the U.S. and Iran represent the best of wrestling in the world. And, you know, I'm disappointed for athletes. I'm disappointed for wrestling fans all around the world. And as I said, it's a complicated process to pull it off. Many hours of preparation goes into it from the athlete perspective as well as the administrative perspective. You know, we, like the Iranian Wrestling Federation, have tons of hours into this. And, you know, when decisions are made that have really nothing to do with wrestling, it's disappointing.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Rich Bender, Executive Director of U.S. Wrestling. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. It's been an honor.